This episode of the Justin Robert Young podcast is brought to you by 219 people at patreon.com/JuRY. Wink!
Ugly ain't the half, look at you. Well, you got blue teeth and you only got two teeth, but I kinda like to see you smile. And it appears that over the years you've turned into a big old steaming pile. And she said, yeah, I know I ain't no supermodel. I said, you ain't a hand model, baby, but that's fine. By most people's standards, but you're alright by mine.
Oh, let me hear you now. Fuck, man. This feels goddamn good to do. This feels like it is supposed to feel, which is fucking awesome. We're back. Finally, we are motherfucking back doing the show live for you. It has been too long. And if there is one thing over the last 2 weeks that I have missed so very dearly, it is the release valve in which me, your humble host, Justin Robert Young, releases all of his intertensions into a cistern called the internet where we can bathe in it together. Welcome, 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 one and all. Guided into this podcast by the heavenly sounds of the immortal Possum Posse, I am Justin Robert Young. If you don't know, a lot of people, I still get this on Twitter all the time. Justin, what's the song you played at the beginning of the show? It's called All Right by Mine by the Possum Posse. It's fucking amazing. Go ahead on there. Buy anything you can of theirs on the internet. They got this great-ass album, Let's Ride, Boys, on the importance of commas, and the importance of commas. Go ahead and get it. It's fucking amazing. Well, you might be asking yourself, Justin, I mean, like, if you're just maybe 100,000 years from now, when human civilization has been completely destroyed, and somebody's trying to sift through the wreckage to find out what was happening in this particular period of time, and you happen to find this, what was once considered to be the greatest podcast ever made, you might be saying, wait a minute, but there's just these episodes in sequential order. I don't know why he's so happy at the beginning of this one. Let me tell you why. It's been 2 weeks since we've done the show, especially since we've done the show live. Did a very weird episode called Heavy. It was not funny at all. Then we went 2 weeks due to travel and some other complications. I had a tech failure. I was going to do the show on Sunday. Couldn't do the show on Sunday because I wanted to make sure that we kept the fidelity of this program high. We had to book it strong. What happened in those intervening 2 weeks? Why am I so happy to talk to you guys? Let me tell you what. Life put hard times on Justin Young. I know what you know. I know everybody out there. For the Uber drivers, realizing they're making below minimum wage when they drive everybody around after they factor in insurance, that's hard times. For the students out there writing papers that they crib from Wikipedia only to be stymied by teachers who go and also check those Wikipedia chapters. That's hard times, Daddy. To everybody out there who has their dead father friend them on Facebook, ooh, that's hard times. But I'm here for you now. I'm back, and I'm better than ever. This is going to be a hell of a show. This was a crazy emotional week, though, man. This was insane. If you haven't listened to Night Attack, that last part was true, man. My dead father, who I knew to be dead, all of a sudden, comes back and friends me on Facebook. If you want more about this, we did one episode that was just totally dedicated to it on Night Attack. And then another episode where we revealed, it kind of left on a cliffhanger in the first one. We revealed how everything turned out in the second one. And I could say, I could recount everything, but go listen to those episodes. But what I want to get to is what has always been the defining hallmark of this show when it has been at its best, and that is the reaction that I get from you, everybody listening, from Diamond Club, from Tadpool, these amazing communities that have not only rallied around other shows, but this show in particular. Between the heavy episode that I did before we did the episode with Amtrekker, which was our last live episode, and the Ghost Dad stuff, I've never gotten more heartfelt, I'm going to tell you some shit like you're my therapist kind of emails. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. There is a point when you're doing a show like this and it's extraordinarily personal and you're pouring your heart out, that you don't know whether or not the people on the other end feel the way you do. Or at least, maybe it's just that they want to see you bare your soul, and them bearing their soul back doesn't necessarily compute. Now, I'm not saying that it needs to happen like that. I guess I'm continually surprised at how much this is a two-way street. And in that heavy episode, we talked a lot about suicide. We talked a lot about really fucked up stuff. And there's a lot of you that are out there that, are in dark places. Self-admittedly. Told me on the email. That's hard times. One person emailed me with something real, for real intense. Like that they were in the darkest of places before they watched that episode, and it made them rethink things. That's hard times, Daddy. But it's because I get those emails that it's important to me that I'm talking to you. It's because I get those emails. It's because I get this feedback. It's because you guys want this to be something where we are talking to each other that it matters to me. Because even I get sick of my own voice. And I'm somebody who wants to do a one mic radio show. So if it's just that, it would have an expiration date. But this is motherfucking everlasting. This is fucking fuck tuck. This is everlasting. This is forever. And that's why it matters. That's why I want to thank everybody who emailed me with super personal stuff, be it about that last episode where we were talking about suicide and depression and motivation and self-loathing, or people who talk to me about how I handled my shitbag father randomly coming back into my life. This is the community that I have always dreamed of. A wise man once told me that you get the chat room you deserve. And I think you can extend that to be about communities, to be about the connection you have with your audience. And if my connection is that we get to talk to each other about some shit you can't talk to other people about, whew, happy to be there. This is it. This is what I fucking signed up for. So thank you so much. We got a fucking hell of a show. And it ain't all gonna be fucking super intense shit this week. Hell no. We're getting into some funny, silly shit. I'm going to talk about craft beer snobs playing the part of craft beer snobs to their own detriment. I'm going to talk about how you, the single gentleman, have one singular enemy. And I'm going to talk about why I hate the term ally. It's all coming up on this, the Justin Robert Young podcast. We're going to be playing Possum Posse all goddamn night. So if you haven't bought that album, let's ride, boys. I hope you buy that album. Also, if you're listening to this for the first time and you dig Possum Posse stuff, go ahead and hit them up at the Possum Posse. Let them know you dug their shit that I was playing on the Justin Robert Young podcast. Be right back after this.
Get off your fat one, cause it starts in an hour. And I was just sitting by the TV when she cut the pie. Now, how am I gonna find out what happened to Jack Bauer? I ain't going nowhere. Then she looked me up, and I was totally down. I said, you can be the queen, honey, just bring me the crown. Well, I'm gonna hop on the microphone, maybe try to raise a toast.
You know, sometimes you can be so passionate that you are a detriment to your cause. Sometimes you can be so into something that you can hurt it. You can squeeze, you can pet that fuzzy little rabbit so much that you kill it in your big meat hook hands. You know, there's, so on the Super Bowl, there's a lot of commercials. I don't know if you ever heard about this, you know, the football. You ever seen this, it's here, NFL, right? The National Football League, they got these here playoffs, and at the end they have a Super Bowl. It's a big, fat, hairy deal. Everybody watches it. Another reason why it's a big, fat, hairy deal is it's a huge advertising place. People debut ads. One of the biggest sponsors for football is beer. Budweiser paid a shit ton of money to have an ad. So everybody, they had many ads over the Super Bowl. A lot of people pay attention to them. One of the ads was one in which they attacked the craft beer scene. And make no mistake, this was an attack ad. This was Budweiser saying, fuck craft beer. We're Budweiser. If you don't want to be a pretentious shitheel, then you can drink our beer and be normal. And believe you me, that is a crowd for which digs football. Like, I'm a huge sports fan. I love football. I love watching it. And yet, there is just the fact that, like, a lot of basic ass motherfuckers just like football. It's something that happens, man. Just a part of the game. But yet, the next day on Facebook, I see some craft beer motherfuckers getting super hot about this. Getting super pissed off about the fact that Budweiser was a macro beer. And this isn't about sniffing and cuddling your beer. It's about just drinking it. Here's why they made that ad. Because anybody who's writing a blog post about fuck that ad can be made fun of by their friends watching football. They want you to be singled out as the person who, I don't drink that piss. I need blank beer. Now, this is an increasingly dying breed. It's an increasingly irrelevant argument. Craft beer and microbrews and stuff like that aren't like they were 10 years ago. You have companies that just make good beer that now distribute nationwide. Many times because these smaller breweries have been bought by larger breweries, like Blue Moon was by Coors, and they are now just distributed because they are part of a larger conglomerate, including AbBev or whatever that owns Anheuser-Busch. They wanted this scenario. You're sitting there watching the Super Bowl. You watch that ad, and it's like, are you a scarf-wearing asshole who sniffs your peach fucking pumpkin ale? Well, don't be that dick. Drink a macro brew. And they want everybody in that room of 7 dudes to point at the one dude and be like, oh, that's you, Stefan. Fucking Stefan. Don't be that guy. Don't let him get boxed in, man. Like, this was an attack ad against you, but you ain't got to play into it. You don't have to do their work for them. You can just enjoy the craft beer that you love. You should get mad about the fucking kid dying ad. That was fucked up. Nationwide Insurance, Nationwide is on your side when it comes to reminding you that your kid might fucking die in a freak accident. Because that is a bizarre fucking choice. Anybody who spent the kind of fucking money that they spent on that ad needs to be F-Y-R-E-D fired. Fucking today. That is a gots-to-go situation, in the words of Tony Kornheiser. Because you cannot have your name on the decision to associate your brand with dead children. There are 2 things that are said to be able to end a politician's career. That is a dead girl or a live boy. You're done. You're out of politics if you get caught with one of those 2 things. I would say for Nationwide, with a little bit of a different perspective, you're not done, but it's a bad idea. It's a really, really, really bad idea to have your fucking brand associated with fucking dead kids. Whew. Hard to deal with. I got some lessons. Speaking of dudes, this is a very dude-centric show. We do a lot where we try to outreach to our awesome female listenership. But I want this to be something where I'm speaking to the homies. I'm going to let you know right now, each and every one of you, you have one enemy. One enemy. I've talked about this before. It's worth talking about again. But I'm going to tell you about your one enemy right after this. Oh no. Oh no. We have a problem. Problem with the music. What if those licks were any fucking tastier? They'd have to put them in a museum. Woo! Possum Posse rocking us out all goddamn episode. Oh, I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. I was talking to a few female friends, and it has become apparent again to me that we need to have this conversation. There's a lot of talk on the internet about how guys don't get a fair shake, about how guys get put in the friend zone, about how guys are misled. Compliments get turned into insults. General approaches are seen as creepster antics. And here's what I'm here to tell you guys. All of it is true. You're not going crazy. You are not thinking to yourself that the reality that you see is not what it is. Because again, one of the mantras of this JuRY show is that all things can be true. All things. And that if people believe them to be true, then it is worth at least a conversation to see where it's coming from. But you might think to yourself, well, Justin, if this is a situation where my hi, how you doing is coming off as creepy and weird, then these fucking ladies need to give it a rest when they say, hey, ease off it. You're being a creepy weirdo. Fucking, like, please respect my space. False. All things can be true. How the woman reacts to you or the popular notion of such is also correct. Well, how does that fucking work? If I am definitely trying to be super nice and yet I am being reacted to as a creep, what's the problem, man? There's got to be some sort of misconnection. Oh, indeed there is. And the problem is very apparent. The call is coming from inside the house. If you consider yourself to be a good and honorable single gentleman, if all you want is to find good companionship and eventually, through courtship, a love that will last you your entire life, you want to settle down and have kids, you want to be a provider and a patriarch while supporting a beautiful, independent woman that you will unite in true partnership and both flourish because you support each other. If that is something that you indeed believe in your heart is true, and I would say that that is a large majority of this listenership, considering we do skew male, and I think you to be really decent, rad people, the single ones, and the attached ones too, but I'm talking to the single ones right now, then you need to understand that there's one fucking enemy, and that is shitty dudes. Shitty dudes are ruining your game. Shitty dudes are the reason why women think that you are a fucking asshole. Want to know why? Because you look indistinguishable from other assholes. It is a major fucking problem for you. Now you might think to yourself, how do I know that there's a shitty dude out there? And what can I do about it? Well, number one, just understand that, like, whenever you get into a situation where you're joking around with a friend of yours about some kind of, like, oh shit. Well, here, let's just take it like this. I have always been one to think that if somebody wanted to have sex on the first date, that just meant they know what they wanted in life, in the words of Andre Benjamin. And yet that's taboo. Why? Why is it taboo? Because you got some skeezy ass motherfuckers out here fucking up the game. You got some skeezy motherfuckers out here saying shit like leading women on, sleeping with them when they have a false pretense of it, and then never talking to them again. Now, notice what I said. This is not about whether or not you can sleep with somebody once and never talk to them again. That's all cool in the gang if everybody's down with it. But if you're taking shortcuts and you are being dishonest, now you fucked it up for somebody else. The shitty dudes are just leaving a mess that now you have to deal with. But Justin, this is about shitty women too. Shitty women do things. They do. But this ain't about them right now. I'm just talking about the dudes. Not everything needs to be a totally gender fucking balanced conversation. We are having a singular fucking teachable moment right now. And that is this. If you see a shitty dude, you need to confront him. Say, dude, come on, that ain't cool. If it's someone you can talk to them about it. In lieu of that, it will make your life 1,000,000 times better. If when you see shitty behavior, or if a female friend starts talking to you about somebody who has shitty behavior, you show your compassion. And you don't rush to say, #NotAllMen. Compassion. Listen, understand, and then through your deeds and actions, demonstrate that it is not all men. Doesn't have to begin the conversation. It can end it once you've established a dialogue and a starting point. Why will that work? You could just have a female friend that you were never intending or have never and would never sleep with. You could tell them that you are a fucking certain kind of person and you find a certain kind of behavior reprehensible. You can then live your life to bolster that point. And someone you have never met is more likely to sleep with you. Why? Because women have a subterranean communication network that relies mostly on pigeons and wind talking. And they all talk to each other, and I fucking cracked the case. Fucking secret's not safe, ladies. Fucking I understand what it is. I have another conversation that's probably gonna piss a bunch of people off, and then we'll do we'll do feedback coming up right after, hopefully, this song plays.
I wake up in the morning, it's you're looking fat. Come home in the evening, it's where you been at. I gotta clean out the gutters, fix the bridge. When she says jump, I ask which bridge. I got the battered husband blues. I got a wife with a temper and hornet-toed shoes. I got a blood-stained ego and a frying pan bruise. Got the battered husband blues. I got the battered husband blues. We go out to get a drink. She says, where's my Coke? I'm always in nothing bar fights I don't provoke.
All right. Here we go. My thing. Oh, shit, Justin. Oh, some dudes are shitty. Fucking real tough take, dickhead. Way to really pick the fucking hard subjects. Way to really punch upwards. Shitty dudes. Oh, that's a great one. That's a real adversary for your nimble, acerbic wit. All right, how about this one? I hate the term ally. I hate it. Don't like it. The only ally I like is the one who fucking gets my direct deposit checks. When do you hear the word ally? Well, you usually hear the word ally when it comes to certain disenfranchised groups. Or, no, I guess disenfranchised kind of covers everything. And I'm going to name a few of them. Those regarding gender, race, and sexuality. Ally. I'm an ally. I'm an ally. I hate it. I hate the term. And it's not to say that I think that people are bad because they say it. It's that I think it's a meaningless and shitty term, and I think terrible people hide behind it. Said it. I think there are a lot of terrible people that hide behind the word ally. Oh, I said it again. I think that a lot of people think that they should get credit for the fact that they say they're an ally when they really don't do anything. Oh, even better. I think it's useless. I think it's meaningless. I've seen enough people that have reprehensible behavior toward the groups that they say they are allied with that I would never in my life call myself an ally. No matter what fucking causes I believe in, by the way. So let's get into why I hate people who call themselves allies, and then I'll get into why I would never call myself one. First, there's what I just said, and the fact that, let's say I said I was an ally for African Americans. Does that mean I'm not an ally for other stuff? Or that I don't care about that to a certain level where I don't list it in my fucking Twitter bio? Do I need to list everything as it comes upon my cultural radar? And even then, is that some sort of fucking ink test to see where I have any kind of consciousness? Do we need to register it? Is it something that I should list in my political affiliation? Do I need to get a t-shirt? Should I wear a beanie? How about a monocle? That maybe one of those novelty sunglasses that has one eye coming in the little hole in an A and the other in the valley of the Y, you know? Like I'll have ally sunglasses. That'd be really rad. Then everyone would know that I care. Hooray, I care. And that's where it stops. Because people want to get credit for caring without actually caring, in my opinion. And it's even more damaging when you say that you are an ally on certain causes and then you act like a shitbag to other causes, because if you're an ally, then you have now done damage to the original cause for which you felt so compelled to say you support. I'm coughing from all the bullshit. I talk extemporaneously on the internet for some fucking 8 hours a week. I talk about a lot of shit. I don't know a lot. I don't know near as much as I talk about. I try to just speak from my heart and my soul. And I hope that at the end of the day, if I ever say something really, really stupid again, because I've said dumb shit before, and I will likely continue to say dumb shit, that the weight of my conscience is counted. And there are enough people that would say, well, I've watched and heard him live for so much time that if something is terrible that I want to apologize for, at the very least, somebody could say, well, he seems like an honest person. I'm going to take his apology at face value. But at the same time, I got very specific feelings on gender, race, and sexuality. And I don't want to tie myself to that. I don't want to be a liability for their cause. I don't want somebody who wants to attack them say, oh, look at him. He supports them and he's a jerk off. Because I'm going to say something that would probably be easy for someone to paint me as a jerk off. That's kind of my gig, is to fucking get into these weird topics and try to talk my way out of them. It's part of why you're listening to this very show, if you are indeed listening to it. And granted, I'm a bit of a different case because I talk a lot and it's recorded forever and it's posted on the internet forever. But at the same time, how different am I than everyone else? We're all on social media. We all fucking say shit on Twitter and Facebook. We all talk to our friends in recorded conversations that can and will be siphoned up by the NSA and the world government, Pierce. But in all seriousness, I mean, like, you could have your iCloud fucking hacked and your shit can be out there. We have no problem. And that's if your friend doesn't take a screenshot and fucking send it to another friend of his. Like, we are all on some degree public, in some degree public figures. So I guess what bothers me the most about it is that I feel like the term ally is just something that comes from an enfranchised perspective. It comes from a majority perspective. It's like this weird noblesse oblige, like noble savage kind of thing where we as this upper class look down upon the lower classes and say, hey, you got something, kid. And that feels fucked up to me. Like I'm not one to say, that you need to fucking go broke or go to jail defending, something that you believe in necessarily. But like, it just feels weird that you can get credit for it when you already have what the disenfranchised would kind of want, which is just sort of like a fair shake. Like, why do you get to king yourself super awesome person? Now, this is not to say that you shouldn't speak out about the issues that you care about. It is my belief that you should always speak out about issues that you care about, which is why, one of the last things I got fucking yelled at a bunch for was don't vote and don't give a fuck about voting and don't buy into this horseshit that election day is the only day that matters. Every day is the day that matters. In fact, every day that you want to do something that's not election day, it can't be tied to political causes very, very easily, is more important because ultimately those are the grassroots campaigns that sway election. So just do it. Just say it. Just support it. But don't try to say that like you're part of that cause any more than just being a supporter for it by your deeds and actions. Let that speak for you. To call yourself an ally, man, it just seems so weird. Like it just seems like you're ultimately trying to just take the credit for being a good person, for being somebody with conviction. Like, you don't put someone with conviction in your Twitter profile. Although, wait, shit, that might be a new trend. I should do that. Hashtag someone with conviction. I got a shit ton of your emails coming up. One more song from the immortal Possum Posse.
My life is slipping away with every word you say. My heart is tumbling down an open road. I got a friend living 5 miles away, and I could just get there with no time left to stay. But my soles are already pounding down the open road. Don't like them hillside streets. You swerve through the curves, but they just repeat. But I can see for miles and miles down an open road. My life is slipping away with every word you say. My heart is tumbling down an open road. My life's slipping away. You better watch what you say, 'cause my heart's got a head start down the open road.
Again, that is the Possum Posse. Pick up their album, Let's Ride, Boys. Available everywhere that fine music is purchased. Real quick, responding To the chat room here, Neshcom says, I think ally has a purpose when used by a minority to describe somebody else. Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is that it's their word, and that if you are privileged, you shouldn't use it. I don't know. I guess from inside a community outward, that's fine. I mean, and really, it's just for me, I want to make sure that people who don't have a fair shake are at least able to fucking get, a clarity of their point, and they control the message, and not somebody who is of privilege saying what they want so they control the message. Kind of has like that mansplaining sort of vibe to me, but hell, reasonable minds can disagree. D8UV writes, here in Anchorage, we recently got Uber, which means a lot of whining from the cab companies that Uber drivers are unlicensed. And if you hire an Uber, you'll be driven to the docks and murdered with a knife. The cab companies eventually won and got Uber taken down, but the leading cab company noted that they have a mobile app that does everything Uber does. 9 days ago, I booked a cab using Yellow Cab's app. Did the mobile payment go through the app? Got a receipt, and everything was good. Fast forward to today, when I got a call from the cab's bookkeeper trying to shake me down for cab fare, claiming that they never received payment. I said they gave me a receipt, to which they shrugged their shoulders. I reminded them that their app being broken was not my fault and hung up. The cab dispatch then sent a cabbie to my work to shake me down personally. I gave him all the money I had in my wallet because it isn't his fault that the app was broken either. It was less than the fare, but I know there's no way I'll get paid unless I do it. I used to think that you calling all cabs liars was hyperbole. Now, I don't think that you said it strongly enough. All cabs are fucking liars, and I want them to go bankrupt. Well, you've already dealt them a far harsher punishment. The cabs you're talking about drive around in Anchorage. Dennis writes, a while back you asked for the opinion of social conservatives, and as an atheist, gay marriage supporting, pro-drug legalization libertarian, I am not a social conservative, but I often find myself aligned with conservatives on fiscal issues. I find it troubling when you have mentioned in the past that you enjoy listening to Rush Limbaugh or reading the Drudge Report or something else sufficiently conservative, and you immediately had to separate yourself from the majority of their views, often in response to statements from chat room. When you mention your enjoyment of Keith Olbermann or equally inflammatory liberal pundits, there hasn't been the same calls for you to proffer of disagreement. In my own life, I've experienced significantly harsher reactions for my conservative political opinions than I ever have for my liberal positions. While I realize it's purely anecdotal, I feel it mirrors what I see online. I don't know. I think that is fairly succinct to my own experience. However, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, like the majority of the people that we talk to are politically and socially liberal. Like, that's just what it is. Those are who my friends are. We share a lot of interests. And that's just happened to be where a lot of my friends have always landed on the political spectrum. And that's fine. To be honest though, that's my Adnan Syed impression. You can only ever expect good discourse and that everybody can connect on the shit they do connect on. In my opinion, I'm always going to disagree with most of the people that I talk to politically, because otherwise, what's the fucking point? Who wants to be part of this fucking one herd hive mind? Like, whatever happened to just being able to disagree with your friends and talk to them about it and have it not be something where you got to fucking draw guns all the time? How about you just fucking have a fun-spirited discourse? Who doesn't want a potpourri of friends, a smorgasbord of friends, a buffet of friends? I want a million types of friends. I want communist friends. I want neo-libertarian futurists who fucking want all the roads to be paid for by fucking, an app that microtransacts from your future earnings in a 401k that's fucking paid for by a shadow government. Like, I want a million different political opinions in my life. That's very interesting to me. It always fucking cracked me up whenever I talk to people who are like, oh, I could never date or marry somebody that didn't have the same political opinion as me. It's like, well, fucking, I don't know. How deep are your convictions that you can't fucking like enjoy somebody? You can't like enjoy, or like fall in love with somebody about like all the things you fall in love with. And it's not always just who'd you vote for. It's like the most unsexy thing on the planet to me. Political opinions. It's so fucking weird. And it's to the point where I assume a lot of people that I hang out with probably like they talk about politics far more than I talk about politics. I'll talk about politics if they want to, but like they probably bring it up a lot more. I've been in a lot of communities where there's just a lot of like, haha, yeah, and fuck those whatever one party. And I just kind of shut up because even if I fucking don't exactly disagree with them, like I don't necessarily want to start a fight about it. I don't want to put my flag in the ground and say like, hey, this is something that I disagree with. On a one-on-one conversation, I'll be happy to, but like, it is weird. It's weird to navigate it, but you know, whatever. The grand scheme of life, the fact that I don't politically agree with all my friends is minor, and it is to me a downright delight. Scale writes, while I was listening to podcasts around this time of year, I've heard a lot of people reflect on what a terrible year 2014 was. But toward the end of the year, I saw things I didn't expect to see, and they gave me hope. And surprisingly, they were goddamn hashtags. After the Sydney siege, I expected racial violence to heat up in Australia. I thought it was going to be like the Cronulla riots all over again. I'm sure somebody's going to correct me on the pronunciation there. But instead, we got hashtag I'll ride with you. After Charlie Hebdo, I was expecting overwhelming anti-Islamic sentiment. I expected more violence, more retaliation. And there was some, but overwhelmingly the loudest voice was that of people who condemn violence and support free speech with Je suis Charlie. We could have a bloodbath. We didn't. We could have neo-Nazis marching and burning effigies of Muhammad. We didn't. We had logic, good sense, prevail, and that gives me hope. Hope that perhaps have reached our limit for tolerating and fear-mongering, and maybe we are headed back to the logic and reasoning that seemed to disappear on 9/11. Hashtags don't solve every problem. Hell, they don't solve many problems at all. Cough, Coney 2012. Cough. Hashtagging doesn't make you a superhero, but every once in a while, something goes viral that makes you think maybe, just maybe, we're finally getting our shit together. And that gives me hope. Well, if you like hashtags, let me throw a hashtag, well, actually, scale. Just play it. But I've always thought that we are getting more reasonable. We're getting more reasonable every single day. And there are magnified elements of our society that sometimes are problematic or weird. But in general, the silent majority, I believe, are people that are good-hearted and are very logical and want the rights and happiness of all people to be protected. It's just a matter of maneuvering it, and sometimes they're not the loudest voice, but I get your point, man. Like, it's comforting when the loudest voice is something rad, because it doesn't always happen. Probably happens less than we would like. Will, after listening to JuRY and After Things, I felt compelled to write you about the standard reaction that comes from the discussion of suicide. You and millions of others, I don't mean to call you out, respond by telling people with suicidal thoughts to talk to somebody. I had those thoughts for the most part of 2 years. Although I'm mostly out of the woods now, I dreaded hearing that sentiment. I would liken the feeling I got from hearing it to when somebody in a wheelchair might feel to somebody who told them to, quote, just stand up and walk around. Try as they might, they simply can't stand up. And it adds insult to injury. There is nothing more they want to do than that. It just reminds me of how hopeless you feel. I know the example is a bit extreme, but so is depression and suicide. All that being said, I don't know what I would have liked to have heard. The only thing I heard that ever brought me comfort in when other people mentioned that they had been there, was other people mentioned that they'd been there. In those years, the last thing I wanted to do was talk to people. So when the advice was simply to suggest that that was a way through, and you'll figure it out on your own, I feel comforted but not intruded on. Will, I hear you, brother. Here's all I'll say, in terms of clarifying my point when it came to suicide and talk to somebody. All I ever want to do is just let people know that, like, there are people to talk. Not that you have to talk. Not that it would be necessarily even better if you talked. I think it often can be. But I am sensitive to the idea that nobody wants to be told what to do. There is an innate element of our brain that's like, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Or like, it ain't that easy, Jack. Like, I get that. I understand. And when you are in the bends, like many people are with extreme depression and suicide, it's even worse. But I do think that there is something to saying that, like, there is a lighthouse, and you might feel like it's far away and you might feel like you'll never get there, but like that it does exist. Because I think, at least for me, when I've been super depressed, it's very easy to convince myself that nobody gives a shit. And that's its own danger. Because isolation makes depression so much worse. And they are best friends, depression and isolation. Ooh, they love each other. They just post shit on each other's Facebook walls for no reason. Little inspirational quotes. Text each other sup, just so they can keep in contact. Ooh, depression and isolation. BFF. And when I say you should talk to somebody, that's really all I mean. Is that you are not alone. I am here with you. The JuRY podcast here. Even if you're a Jew. That was weird. All right. Derek, I logged into the net this morning to Yahoo News. Of course, myself, like most people, always click on the link that they know they shouldn't watch. I saw the video of Kenji Goto. Check out the story so the rest of what I want to say makes sense. I just want people to know that when they sit at home doing all the fun stuff they do, there's a sick group of people out there that are trying to mess with us. Let's make this a discussion. If you're unfamiliar with Kenji Goto, he is somebody that was murdered brutally by the Islamic State in Syria, or ISIS. It has sparked yet another round of, super complicated, fucked up shit that's happening in the Middle East and has international ramifications since ISIS seems bent on publicly murdering foreign nationals. So, that's fucked up. I mean, I want to keep this as a humanitarian discussion and not a political discussion. Although I don't blame anybody who wants to have a political discussion about this in terms of what the solution is to ISIS, if there is one. However, all I would say is that, and there's part of this email that I cut out from Derek because it was super long, but, that was somebody's child got murdered. 30-year-old person, just a little shade older than me, out there getting fucking murdered. And a lot of them are journalists and people who have dedicated their lives to going into harm's way so they can bring back uncomfortable truths to a population that is hungry for them. It's very, very sad to me. It was something that, I'll tell you what, man, there was another universe where that was my career. I very much, if I had stayed in newspapers, I wanted to do foreign stuff because I thought that was really where, I could benefit. Like I liked the danger element of it. And it was something that I always kind of wanted to do. And so I watched that, and I guess there's a part of me, not to make it all about me, but this is a podcast called JuRY, so fucking what do you expect? I really don't like, I mean, it touches me on a certain level, and I don't know. I don't know what there is to say other than it's super fucked up, and I feel terrible for everybody who has known everybody who's gotten murdered by them. And then you get to ISIS and international terrorism, and I just, I don't want to make this about solutions, but I get fucking pro wrestling hot about that kind of stuff. I tend to get very aggressive. And I want them all dead. So here's one more thing. We're going to lighten it up before we end the show. I want to end the show with this thing. I mentioned something on Night Attack this week where there was like this dirty song that I remember when I was a kid, and this is like middle school. And I was curious at what the range of these limericks were, these little songs, these little ditties. Because I know everybody probably had them, everybody probably heard them, but I'm curious to know if people recognized my version, if there was another version that people heard that had different lyrics, or if you had your own filthy songs that you remember from middle school. You can please write to me, JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com, put JuRY in the subject line. So mine was fuck, fuck, fuck a duck, screw a kangaroo, finger bang an orangutan and do it in the zoo. That was the filthy song that I remember. Brian did not remember it. Few people in the chat realm did. So now let me know if you heard that song. Charles wrote in that his filthy song that he remembers from school is Down by the Cherry Tree. That's where she showed it to me. It was hairy and black and it had a little crack down by the cherry tree. So I whipped up my big banana and I stuck it in the crack. She started to scream, so I filled her with cream down by the cherry tree. Now, I remember a version of this that maybe because I grew up in an area with a large Hispanic population, had a very Hispanic bent to it. And it was this. My name is Gonzalez. I work in the palace. I make 5 pesos a day. Just give me some. Oh, I ain't no wussy. Just give me some pussy and take my 5 pesos away. Yeah. And then I think I remember one that was more also like, I remember the line, it was hairy and black and it had a big crack. Although he said little crack. So apparently the cracks are bigger in South Florida. But send me your filthy songs that you remember from middle school, and I'm going to read them at the end of each show. Speaking of the end of the show, you can find this podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, and some other shit. For me, I'm using this app called Downcast. I think it's really awesome. You can get it on there. I know I have, so I've proven that it is indeed possible. You can email me, JustinRobertYoung@gmail.com. Make sure you put JuRY in the subject line. My Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat are all Justin R. Young. And of course, you can join the conversation at diamondclub.reddit.com. Feel free to continue any and all of these conversations right there on that Reddit. And of course, there is that Patreon, patreon.com/JuRY. You know, we're nearly up to $400 an episode, which is fucking batshit crazy insane. So, if you would like to support the show, I've been doing these celebrity jizz impressions on the show. I will do the celebrity jizz impression album when we get to $400 an episode. I think it's only like $12 away. So hopefully I got some days off. I will record this album as soon as we hit $400 an episode. I will send it to everybody that is any kind of Patreon on any level. Capiche? Capiche. But folks, if you find yourself at the end of your rope between now and the next time we do a live show, please remember that this is Justin Robert Young telling you, please don't die! Do you like the way you're dressed up? Do you like how your hair gets cut? Do you like when your friends fuck up? Don't you think you have had enough? People are pointing out that song did sound a little rapey. That is rapey. I mean, I think it's like you're young enough that maybe like you don't mean it to be rapey. Kind of rapey. comments about Harper Lee. Someone's asked me for comments about Harper Lee. Hey, listen. Is this book written by Truman Capote too? Pa, pa, pa. Booyaka, booyaka. Fucking taking shots at Harper Lee. You didn't write that book.